Are we live? All right, let's check. Awesome. It looks like we are live. Excellent connection. I'm always saying that on each episode. Episode 74. All right, let's give it a few minutes. You're probably seeing some gibberish, which was me testing out the chat so I could show up during the live stream. That was working, or it is working. Awesome. So I'll get myself up and running. Appreciation to the following for the last episode, episode 73 last week. I appreciate you guys for chatting, top chatters. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to give it a few more minutes and we are going to start. Again, thank you so much for the following people for the last episode. Keeping it lively on episode 73 and 74. All right, guys, welcome back to episode 74. You saw the title of the video, Build a Basic Lab in Cisco Packet Tracer. The reason why I'm doing this is because I'm doing a 7-day course dealing with Cisco Packet Tracer. I'm a system administrator, so networking is something that I like to also do, but I hardly touch it because there is a network admin and, I'm the backup of the network admin. So for me to get my practice, I like to use Packet Tracer. It's free, it's awesome. You're able to break the environment and it won't affect production. Plus, purchasing like a Cisco switch is too expensive. I can't purchase a switch to have it at home, a Cisco one. I mean, you're able to get like a cheap one, a third party one, a secondhand one, but they're pretty expensive. So let's go straight to it. Uh, Hello from China. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully we're able to see everything. Awesome. Let me just rearrange a couple of things. Awesome. Hello from China. All right. So let me share my desktop. Awesome. So today is all about building a basic lab with Packet Tracer. We're gonna have one PC. One server, two switches, and a router. Both switches are going to be configured very basic, nothing too extreme. One switch is going to have a different IP address, and the other switch is basically the server side. That's going to have its own IP address or its own subnet, and then you got to have the router that's basically is going to be able to ping across to the other subnet. All right, so I'm going to show you guys how to build all that out, or what I'm teaching myself, or this is how I practice. So we got Cisco Packet Tracer up and running. I am going to drop a couple of objects. I'm going to drop a PC. Wow, that's pretty big. All right, let's make this a little smaller. Shrink it down. All right, so that's a good size, right, for you guys to see. All right, so we got a PC. We're going to be needing a server. Awesome. And let's drop a router and also a switch. So let's deal with the switches first. Now for the switching, I've been practicing a lot with the 2960s. They're pretty easy, pretty standard with the configuration stuff. So let's move this stuff over a little bit just to rearrange it. So right now what we are doing is just rearranging everything. We're going to name it. We're going to kind of label everything, virtually. We need the router. So for the router, I think the router that I'm going to be using is the 1841. Where's the 1841? Where are you? 1841. Boom. Very standard. Awesome. All right. Let's name this stuff. For the PC, I'm actually going to set up the PC up. So let's go to desktop. Let's go to IP configuration. For the IP for this desktop, it is going to be 10.0.0.10. Awesome. I'm going to copy this. Subnet mask is going to be 24. So it's 255.255.255.0. For the default gateway, 10.0.0.0.1. That copy that I did, I'm going to bring it over to settings, and I just want to change that to that. All right, so boom. So got that IP address. Now for the server's in a different IP address, different subnet. So for this guy right here, let's get into that machine. Let's go into desktop. Let's go to IP. This is going to be a 192.168.0.10. I'm going to copy that. This again is going to be a subnet of 24, so that's 255.255.255.0. And the default gateway is 192, and I just saw a mistake that I did. I forgot to put the 2 here. Perfect. All right. Okay. Awesome. Oops. 192.168.0.1. Awesome. Let's go to config settings and boom, 192.168.0.10. Okay, cool. Default gateway, everything's set. Boom. Now, let's configure the switches. Or we can actually connect stuff if we want. I'm not going to do that at the moment. I'm just going to start configuring stuff. You are able to configure. Let's connect a couple of things. So to connect, this is the lightning bolt right here. We are going to use a copper straight through, which is basically an Ethernet. So I'm going to actually, for the router, fast Ethernet 00 is going to connect to 01. And let's do another one. Fast 01 is going to hook up to 001. The PC only has one Ethernet, and this is going to hook up to fast 02. Server only has one Ethernet, and that's going to hook up to this switch, which would be fast 02. Now, this router right here, we are going to do the following. You could just erase this. I'm going to actually call this office switch, right? And this switch right here would be the data center or the server switch, whatever you want. Let's call it data center switch. Awesome. Now I am going to put, to keep everything nice and clean, let's put a note right here. The IP address for this switch is going to be 2, right? So this is just me being organized a little bit. We're going to make a copy of this, and we're going to move it over here. This guy right here is going to be 192.168.0.2. That is the IP address for that guy. Awesome. Okay. So these IP addresses are pretty important. Both subnet mask is 24. So they're going to be 255.255.255.255.0. For this port right here, right? This port, which was, let me see if I overwrit. Okay, so fast 00 is going to have its own IP address, and then fast 01 on the router side is going to have its own IP address. So we're actually going to do, I think maybe to do Control V. So on this end right here, Control V again, and this end right here, okay, they're going to have their own IP address. So this right here is going to be 10.0.0.0.1. And this guy right here is going to be 192.168.0.1. Okay. Awesome. So we have everything kind of built out the way that we wanted. It looks pretty good. Now it is time for us to configure our switches and also our router to make everything work. So the whole task of this little lab is basically to have this PC ping over this server. This PC has a different IP address than this server, so you have to configure the switches and the routing that it's able to route to this switch. You're able to ping this switch, also to able to ping the router, but also go across this subnet and ping the server, the switch, and the router with this IP address. Okay, so before we start, let me look at something real quick. Correct. Yes. Yes. Shin, you are correct. Yes. Z4 gateway. Well, the gateway is the router, right? Which would be 10.0.0.1. And the router is what we are configuring with the gateway. Okay. These IPs right here are the IPs for just the switches. But for the gateway, we're going to be configuring it on the router level. Okay. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Right. Cool. All right, back to picture to picture, and it's time for us to configure. So we already set the IP addresses on the PC side and the server side. We kind of labeled everything, but we haven't physically got into the switches as of yet. So I'm going to hit the office switch first. Let's open this guy up. Oops. Let's maximize it, and let's go into the CLI. Hopefully you guys are able to see this. I'm going to hit enter. It's not configured. We're going to do EN. EN is basically enabled. I'm going to be doing a lot of tab because this also has autocomplete. Gotta love the autocomplete. So EN for short is enable mode. So EN or tab is it's the same thing. If you hit the tab on EN, it's going to configure it into enabled. But we need to get to enable mode. We also need to get into, well, I'm in enable mode and I want to show you guys show run, which is a command, show run config, hit enter. This right here is going to show us our configuration on this switch. Now this switch is not configured. Everything is blank. I have nothing on the interfaces. I have nothing into my VLANs. We, later on a later on video or episode, we're going to be going over VLANs and inter VLANs and all that crazy stuff. So stay tuned. This is pretty exciting. It's exciting to me because I love this stuff. So what we're going to do is config T. Config T is basically configure terminal. And this is going to switch the command prompt to the following. I don't know if you guys are able to see, but I am going to zoom in. Hopefully the zoom in will work. Is this good for you guys? That long zoom in? All right, so let's configure this. First thing, let's change the host name. We're going to do a command of host name. And let's the switch on our diagram that we built within Packet Tracer, I call it office switch. So we're going to name it office switch. I'm going to hit enter. Boom. As soon as you do host name office switch, you're going to see that this switch was switched to office switch. So we already renamed it. Now we need to set up a domain name. So IP domain name and btnhd.edu, whatever domain you have within your infrastructure, you want to do it there. Okay. We're going to hit enter. Awesome. That's set. Now we need to, when you're playing around with Cisco Packet Tracer, it's always best practice to configure it the way that you would normally configure a production switch. So you definitely need to have a username to log into your SSH session, because most likely you're not going to console into your switch, or you're not going to have this type of interface, right? Like an icon to click in, and then you're able to get into the CLI and then start configuring. Most likely you're going to do an SSH session to get into the switches remotely. So from here, we need to create a username. This is really up to you, but for this little lab that we're doing together, I'm going to call it username admin. And then I'm going to do secret, and then we're going to give it the secret password of Cisco. So when I'm logging into this machine and I'm configuring it and I need to, do my thing, it's going to prompt me for a username. Username would be admin, password would be Cisco. Again, this is a lab. Most likely do not use admin and do not use Cisco. We're going to hit enter there. Awesome. We are going to enable the secret. So enable secret, and it's going to be Cisco. Okay. So the EN to get into enable mode, we enabled it with a password of Cisco. That's basically it. Now, the following commands is basically generating an RSA key as well as enabling SSH version 2, and then configuring it to the point that we're able to use like putty to get into it. So to do all that stuff, we're going to do crypto. Hopefully I spell it right. Auto completed key generate. We're going to do RSA. We're going to do general key. You guys are not able to see that, so let me zoom out. General key module, and we're going to do a 1024. We're going to hit enter there. Awesome. Zoom in. Boop. All right. Now, next command is going to be IPSSH. You could do V2. Now, V is basically an alias for version. If I delete 2 and just hit the tab, it converts it to version 2. Hit enter. Boom. Now, we need to do a line console. We're going to do 0 on that. You're going to see that the command prompt changes to config line. We're going to do a login local. Hit enter. We're also going to do a line VTY04. We're going to do a login local again. We're going to do a transport input SSH. Awesome. Great. Let's zoom out of this. And while we zoom out, I'm going to basically do a exit. Now, I'm gonna exit out because I don't need to be inside the config line anymore. Everything's kind of configured. I want to get back into the config mode or the config terminal. And I'm actually going to start configuring the ports. Yeah, the ports, right? All right, to configure the boards, we are going to do interface or INT, which is interface, but if you hit the tab, it does interface. This is going to be a range. We're going to configure all the ranges, F, right? Alias is fast Ethernet. If I hit the tab, it's going to change it to fast Ethernet, but I'm going to delete that because I like just the F. 0, 1, -24, we're going to configure all the ports inside our switch, all 24 of them, and then we also have 2 gigabit ports. So that's going to be G01-2, okay? So once I do all that, oops, make sure you guys are able to see. I'm going to hit enter, and now config if range. Now I'm able, whatever I do right now, I'm configuring all the ports in one shot. So I'm going to do a switch port mode access. Awesome. And we're going to do another switch port, and this is going to be access VLAN. We're going to create a VLAN. Now, this VLAN is going to be our first VLAN because we did not do VLAN 10. Typically, when you want to create a VLAN, you do VLAN 10 and it will create it for you. Now, because I did not initiate the command of VLAN 10, right, to create it first, once I do switch port access VLAN 10, the switch knows or kind of sees, okay, this guy does not have VLAN 10, so let's create it for him. So once I hit enter, see, access VLAN does not exist, creating VLAN 10, right? So I don't need to just type in VLAN 10 to create it first and then do the switch port access. Once you do the switch port access VLAN 10, it creates it for you if it's not there. We're going to do another switch port, and we're going to do non-negotiate, hit enter. Cool. And we're going to do spamming tree. And that's going to be port fast. And we're going to hit enter there. Awesome. So once you do all that, you're going to see all this port fast has configured on the gigabit, but will only have effect when the interface is in a non-trunking mode. So we're going to do an exit to get out of here. Awesome. And Okay. Let's hit enter a couple times. Let's zoom in. Awesome. Cool. So we are going to do the following. We're going to get into our VLAN. So let's do INT, which is interface VLAN 10. Let's get into that. All right. Boop. And we are, let me do it one more time. VLAN 10. Okay. We need to configure an IP address, and the IP address that we gave the switch was what? We gave it 10.0.0.2, right? So that's what we are going to set it. So let's do IP address 10.0.0.0.2. Need to add your subnet mask, which would be 255, and 0, and too many 255s. There it goes. 10.0.0.2, 255. I think I'm saying too many 255s. We're gonna hit enter here. Awesome. We're going to do a no shut, and we're going to assign our default gateway. So it would be IP default gateway. Boop. Default gateway and 10.0.0.1. Awesome. We're going to exit. And from this prompt here, we're going to do a copy run start. So copy run start, what that does is basically going to copy everything that we've done inside into our configuration. So it's going to save all the settings basically. So we're going to hit enter, destination file name, startup. Yep, hit enter. Awesome. Another command would be show run -config. We hit enter here. You're going to see our configuration is built out. So this switch is good to go. It's on a VLAN already. Everything is configured. This is nice. Beautiful. We have our VLAN, which is 10 right here. This is the IP address for this switch. And this is the IP, this is the default gateway for the router for this switch, which would be 10.0.0.0.1. Great. All right, now we need to configure the second switch. Now, rather than typing all this stuff over, check this out. This is one of the things I like about Packet Tracer, and you can also do this on a real switch as well. So because we did a show run config, I'm able to copy everything that we just did, everything. I could copy everything from here. So copy it. Let's open up Notepad or Notepad++, and then you're able to paste it. So this right here is your cheat sheet. All right. So I will save this. Let's save this somewhere. Save it in the downloads, and this is going to, let's call it basic switch configuration, because I could constantly use this over and over with you guys. Now, we just configured, let's close this. We just configured this. Let's get in here. Right, so we just configured this switch. Awesome, beautiful. We need to configure this switch. This is the name of it. This is the IP address. Got it? So what we are going to do is with Notepad, where it says host name, let's change it. That's it. That's all we're going to do is just change it. So we are going to call this, let's call this data center switch, right? And everything is the same on this switch except right here, right? We need to configure the IP address 192.168.0.2, right? Remember, we mapped everything out at the very beginning, and the default gateway would be 192.168.0.1. Nice. So I'm able to just Control A, Control C, get into Packet Tracer, select this switch, go into the command line, and I don't want to like trick you guys. Let's do EN. If it was configured As soon as I type in en, it should prompt me for a password. If I do show run config, I have nothing configured, nothing. But we need to get into config T, and then from config T, I'm able to hit, I don't know if you guys are able to see, but right here within Packet Tracer, it gives you an option to paste. So let's paste what we have in the clipboard. You just saw a crap load of stuff just happen. Awesome. Let's hit enter. Look at that. It changed. You know, by default, it is set to switch. And because we changed our text file to data, you know, data center switch, it changed it for us. And the only thing that you need to do after you copy and paste is just do a copy run start to save those configuration files. Save those configuration settings, and it's done. If you want to check on it, you could do a show run config, hit enter, the space bar, there it goes. All the ports are configured. Beautiful. Look at that. Awesome. So we have our IP address that we kind of set up over here. This is only labels just to map everything out. And then our default gateway. Boom. Cool, right? And yeah, so we got both switches up and running. So it is time for us to set up our router. So you see everything right here is on red. Red means that the switch, between the switch and the router, this line right here is not really, they haven't established a successful connection. That's the reason why it's red and red. I think when you're connecting a PC to a switch or a server to a switch, it's always going to be green, because without configurations on a switch, it's basically considered an unmanaged switch. You're still able to send traffic to an unmanaged switch. It's not best practice to have an unmanaged switch. It was always best practice to have a configured switch, because you're able to manage the security and manage the traffic and stuff. So I think later on, when we're dealing with like inter VLANs and stuff like that, and static routing, we are going to take advantage of unmanaged switches and stuff. Cool. Let me just check the chat real quick. Good morning. My home lab domain name is 2dmed.lcal. Okay. Oh, local. Morning, Joseph. Morning, everyone. 2dmed. Does that have a meaning to it? Are you trying to be... Are you studying medical? You're a medical doctor? All right, so let's get back into Packet Tracer and let's configure our router. To configure our router, same thing as lost train of thought. Same thing, the same way to get into this, the same way that we did with the switches. Just click on it. We're gonna click on the router. We're gonna get into it. Boom. I mean, the router, if you want, let's name the router, it's up to you. Let's call it primary router. Yeah, let's call it primary router. So that's the name of it. Port 00 is going to be 10001. That's the default gateway. And we also have port 01. 00 is this 10001. And then 01 is going to be 192.168.0.1. But we need to configure our router. Now, to get into it, the same way that we did with the switches, just click on it. You get this. Let's do the CLI. Let's open this up. Would you like to enter the initial configuration dialog box? I mean, I think a lot of network admins never do yes on this. They always click no. So I'm going to hit no. We're going to hit enter. And right now we are at this level because we haven't configured it, router. But we do en. Again, we don't have anything in here, but we do show run config. I just want to show you guys, we do not have anything inside this router as of yet. It is basically blank for us to configure it. So let's configure it. All right, now to configure it, boop, boop, we are going to get into config T again, configuration terminal. Awesome. Let's do a host name. Got to give it a name, host name, and on the label that we did within Packet Tracer, we called it primary router. Awesome. Like the switches, we got to do an IP domain name. Let's call it btnhd.edu. Hit enter. Perfect. Need to create a username. Username is going to be admin. We're definitely going to do a secret, and the password for the secret, it would be Cisco. All right. We're going to enable the secret, and that is going to also be Cisco. Got it. We also need to generate a module, an RSA generated key for our SSH, enable that, and then enable the line and console. So this is everything that I'm going to be doing. So let me zoom out a bit. So we're going to do a crypto key generate RSA general and module, and then 1024. Now, if you see this, if you see like multiple lines like this, it's because I'm actually hitting the tab key. I like to use the autocomplete a lot. Okay. So this is everything that you need. We're going to hit enter. Boom. Awesome. It is done. We are going to do IP SSH, V for version, and we're going to do 2. We're going to do a line. We're going to do a line console and 0. Awesome. We're going to do a login local. We're going to do a line auxiliary. Line aux. There we go. We're going to do a line local. And we're going to do a line VTY04, because that's how many sessions I could basically have. I think 4 sessions with SSH. We're going to do a login local again. We're going to do a transport input SSH. Awesome. And we're going to exit out of here. Beautiful. Let me zoom out real quick. All right, so it is time for us to configure. So let's look back here, and this one right here is fast Ethernet 00. So let's configure fast Ethernet 00 first. And to get into that would be INT. INT is what? Interface. F, fast Ethernet, but you're able to do a short alias of just F. Just type in F. You don't have to type in the entire word. If you want the entire word, just hit the tab and you get fast Ethernet. But I just like to do just the F and then the port that we need. So the port that we are configuring would be fast Ethernet 00. I'm going to hit enter. You're going to see that the command is going to switch to config if. And let's give our IP address. Now, the IP address would be what? It would be our default gateway, which would be 10.0.0.1. 10.0.0.1, yeah. So IP address. And let me zoom out so you guys can see 10.0.0.1. And the subnet mask of 255.255.255.0 and hit enter. Boom. Awesome. Cool. We're going to do a no shut. No shut basically is a no shutdown. It will bring up the port to a down state to an up state, and we just configured F00. Now it's time for us to configure the other port. So the other port, and you just saw, right? As soon as you configure it, it changes green. Nice, right? So now it is us to it now. We need to configure 01. So 01 is going to be this IP address, which would be the default gateway for this. I was about to curse. I was about to say the F word. Holy crap. Oh, getting too comfortable. This IP address, this default gateway would be for this subnet right here for the 192. So let's get into this. From this config if, right? We're still inside of the INT fast Ethernet 00, right? So whatever you do next is part of that port. But if you do INT, right, and do F01, as soon as you do this command and you hit enter, whatever you do after that is going to be doing it for this port. So we need to do IP address. zoom out so you guys can see 192 and 68.0.1 and the subnet mask up to 24. Right? You can't do /24. I don't think you can do /24. I think you need to type in the entire subnet. So I'm going to hit enter. Awesome. I'm going to do a no shut. Awesome. Brought it up. Beautiful. So let's hit enter a couple times. Let's exit out of here. Exit out of here again. So we get into this. We're going to do a copy, run, start, hit enter. And we're going to do a show run config. Show run config. Hit enter. Hit spacebar. Okay, here goes our two networks. No VLANs, no nothing. But what I'm going to do is copy all this because it's good to have. And let's copy from there. So right click, copy, open up the notepad, open up a new one and paste it. Boom. And let's go to file and let's call this basic router configuration. And boop. Awesome. So when we create another router, we already have like a base configuration file that we're able to change the IP address and change the host name. It's just copy and paste, and then we're good to go. Let me check up on you guys real quick because we're almost done with the live stream. This is awesome. All right, so let me do my thing. All right, so let me minimize this picture to picture. Okay. All right, so everything is configured, everything is green. So the next thing that we need to do is, are we able to ping from this PC to the switch? Are we able to ping successful to the router? Are we able to ping this switch? And are we able to go across and ping our server? So we're going to click on the PC and let's go to desktop. Let's go into the command prompt. And within the command prompt, we're going to do the following. So we're going to do an easy one. Let's ping 10.0.0.0.2, which 10.0.0.2 is the office switch, right? So we should be able to ping it. Should. There we go. You get one request timeout, and the reason for that it is because of ARP, which ARP stands for if correct me if I'm wrong, address resolution protocol. So it takes a while for it to populate into the switch. So that's the reason you get one timeout, and then afterwards you get successful. But if I ping it again, it should go straight through all 5 of them with no problem. So we're able to ping the switch. Awesome. Are we able to ping the gateway? Yes, we're able to ping the gateway. That's great. Now let's get a little crazy. Are we able to ping the 192.168.0.1, which is the gateway? So let's go into ping 192.168.0.1 and hit enter. Yes, we are able to ping that. And I think when you're pinging it, you will see everything kind of blink. That's pretty cool. All right, so we're able to ping that. Are we able to ping the switch? Again, ARP is gonna time out because ARP is kicking in. That's ARP right here. And you should get the next 3. Ooh, there it goes. ARP took a while for it to kick in, but the last 2, we got replies. But that means if I'm able to ping .2, it should ping successfully all 4. All 4 pings should be successful. The last 2 was because of ARP. Now, last but not least, before we end the live stream, are we able to ping to the server? Server is important. The server is a file share. We gotta access the file share, right? So are we able to access the file share with this setup? Most likely ARP is gonna kick in It's going to give us a request timeout because of ARP. This is ARP, but we are able to successfully hit the next 3 pings. If we do it one more time, all 4 pings should be successful. So we just successfully built a small lab. How awesome is that within Cisco Packet Tracer? So that's about it for this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoy. I know there's other utilities to practice networking. I like Cisco Packet Tracer because it's not a heavy application to have on a machine. I have this installed on a X1 Carbon from Lenovo, 16 gigs. Uh, it's not a I don't need a lot of resources to use Cisco Packet Tracer. There's other utilities that allows you to practice networking. I think like GNS3. There's other ones out there. I know GNS3 is like really heavy. You have to have a lot of resources. You got to have like your own freaking um like a server, like a big machine with a lot of resources, a lot of memory, a lot of CPU, a lot of storage because of that. Cisco Packet Tracer is great. A lot of the switches that I've touched and dealt with are Cisco based. So a lot of the commands that we went over, it works for real Ciscos. So that's cool. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I catch you guys on episode 75 and enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. And I catch you guys on the next one. Peace out. All right. So how do we end this? All right. Is it over? All right, guys. Catch you guys on the next one.